How's it going, folks? Got another base tour for you. Obviously, just from seeing this first image, you can tell that it is indeed an iceberg base this time, which is an incredibly more complicated build to execute, especially on vanilla, considering the fact that you have to swim all of your materials out here. You cannot teleport or anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at it. It is not finished because the God mode incident, if you have seen that God mode problem video that I uploaded a while back, that happened in the midst of me trying to build this, and we just decided to move on to our own server called I Killed Don Broach. So we will no longer be playing here. That's why all this stuff is twig. I never ended up finishing it, and you're just gonna have to be creative and imagine all the amenities that do not exist in this base as if it were your own base and it was totally finished and you had filled it with all the goodies and different things that you would want to fill it with. I do have some loot. I've got some stash boxes up here, which I will show you soon. These are empty. Those were temporary loot holding. There's a tool cupboard right there. And basically just armored double doors to help repair the stone walls if need be. One thing that I actually did not know about this all-welcome server is that the decay feature was disabled. I was wondering why I had no problems with stuff losing health over time. I figured it was just something that didn't work the same way in the current version of Rust as it did before, but I guess I am mistaken. So, yeah, that's why all this stuff hasn't lost any health over the time that it's been here. Anyways, that's pretty much all of this area. Like I said, it's not finished, but you can imagine, you know, how much different stuff we could squeeze into this area if we had the time and we wanted to put the effort into it. So I'm going to go ahead and continue showing you the vast amount of empty area, but we should definitely take a look at the loot room real quick, so let's go down here. Got all these hatches and doors. See, we got armor too. That's the best part. The loot area is fully armored, which is kind of a dead giveaway considering that none of the rest of the stuff is, but provided that you had the right circumstances on the server that you were playing on and you decided to armor up the entire base, you definitely could pull it off. It would be a pain, but you could. So you can see these are like dummy loot boxes. I had stuff in here before, but I was, you know, maybe anticipating someone trying to raid me for a while when I couldn't log on to the server, so I moved stuff into these boxes, which are my trademark safety deposit box technique. So you can see we have a shitload of targeting computers. There's like 11 turrets, 10 turrets or something like that deployed right now. Okay, sorry about that. Got a little bit interrupted by a phone call. That's, really annoying. Anyways, as I was saying, we've got fully armored area in here. We've got multiple levels, safety deposit boxes with all of our crap. And you can see I have a bunch of spare tool cupboards. And, you know, random stuff like that, basically. Some furnaces. We keep going up. And we end up right where we started earlier. And the sun is going down, so I probably got to hurry up to get the rest of this shown to you before it gets really dark on us. Let's drop down. And once again, we've got these turrets here, which are guarding the perimeter. Pretty much the way it works is that anyone who wants to raid this, they have to ladder up to a spot where they can actually stand on the edge and either have all the time it would take to pickaxe it, which is not as viable as it used to be, or just, you know, waste 3 C4. It does take 3 now, it used to take 8, but it's 3 C4 per high external stone wall, so they'd need, you know, 9 just to get through those 3 layers of walls. And assuming that they even did, the turret would probably shoot them. Same thing if they tried to, you know, get smart and, like, ladder up and boost jump over them. I think they'd get stuck on the barbed wire, and they would, get shot by the turret. And if their corpse fell dead into the water, they would totally lose everything on their body. unless their, you know, friend managed to maybe save C4, you know, real quick. But that seems unlikely considering how fast you fall, you know, when you get killed by a turret and you're completely dead and you're falling into the water. It's basically impossible to swim after it. You'll die and you just can't loot it fast enough. So that is one of the major advantages of this base. The major advantage is the location, the remote location, and of course the major disadvantage is also the remote location because you need to get all your stuff out here after you've gathered it, which is a real pain. And we'll, you know, discuss that a little bit more in a minute here. You can see this stuff is unfinished. This is all just honeycombing to prevent people from laddering up easily. It's definitely not easy to begin with. It takes a lot of resource and stuff, a lot of C4 to go through, you know, the exterior stone walls, but you never know. People do get creative. You can see these are basically spots to shoot from, these balcony areas here. And if I can manage to make this correctly, there we go, ninja status. You can see I've got this turret guarding this section back here, which is one of the places that they would most likely ladder up to. And then I've got the main entrance, which is this pretty sketchy setup here that works perfectly if you know what you're doing. I've got this hatch that hangs down, and you have to just manage to keep your footing when you jump up, you know, not fall off, and open it. See, I just fell off. So you have to manage to jump up from like right here and open it, and then jump back up to climb all the way into the airlock system there. And then of course this is guarded by a turret, so if you try and use the ladders that are already there, if you're a raider, you will get shot before you can even turn around. You can't shoot rockets off of a ladder, obviously. You can chuck C4, but you can't get anywhere in the time it would take for the turret to shoot you dead, and if you did have any rockets or any kind of, you know, valuable explosives on you, you would pretty much most certainly lose them because of the fact that you would just be instantly dead, shot by the turret, and you would not be wounded in the water, and you just sink to the bottom before your buddies could get your stuff. Especially if you were solo, you'd definitely lose it, certainly. You'd be screwed. So let's go back inside. I'll show you what the normal front entrance looks like when we enter the way that you normally would. You can see I've got these multiple ways to go to confuse people. You can go in this way, you can go up this way. And then of course this goes to the balcony here. And this goes to this area, which you actually can't... Oh, you can get through that way, but you can't go back. Oh, no, wait, you can? Oh, it looks like they changed the game mechanics slightly. Before, I couldn't do that. I could not jump back through there, but I guess I can if I'm crouching. Cool. Good to know. See right here, this is that hatch that we just saw. So we'd go up through here. And, of course, we'd hit all these doors. So that's pretty much it for the iceberg right now, because I didn't have a chance to finish it. So I should probably just show you the base from the water level, as well as the outpost that we used to gather the materials we needed to build the base, as well as Chickinator's secondary iceberg base over there, because that is part of the defensive system of this particular build. Alright, so unfortunately it poses a couple issues when you're in a cluster of icebergs like we are. There are these 3 different bergs right here that are all grouped together, and unfortunately, if someone's trying to raid you, they can just build an embattlement on one of these other icebergs, and it would make it a lot harder for you to fight back if they've got like a sniper tower position and a place to respawn where they can then swim back over with gear and mess you up if you do kill them or if your auto turrets kill them. However, if you take advantage of the fact that you've got multiple icebergs, you can make yourself a secondary outpost over here to make it even harder for people to raid you. and you can just block off a somewhat useless iceberg like that one over there. That one's pretty crappy. In general, it's really hard to build on a surface like that, so I recommend just putting some tool cupboards where you can and sealing it off with stone walls. And then maybe what you can do on there is put like a chest with some sleeping bags and stuff, and then if you ever want to have like a prison that's out in the middle of freaking nowhere, you could spawn, you know, some people in if you've determined what their bags are called. Say if you raided someone that you don't like and you want to imprison them by replacing their bag, that would be kind of funny. For the most part, a berg like that is useless otherwise, though. And so you see this design here, there are two bergs right next to each other that is effectively one large berg. Unfortunately, Chickenator upgraded this stuff to wood, and we never destroyed it to fix the problem, because that one right here, this part is supposed to be twig. And then I guess this should be twig as well, because you can destroy it when you log off, so there's really no way that someone can just hop across if they do get into that area of the base. Now, there's really nothing to stop someone from laddering up from down there where the two icebergs meet, unless you could manage to put a tool cupboard in between and then put like high exterior stone walls around the bottom edge of the iceberg, like you've seen me do on the other berg over here. Good thing we didn't die from that. Swim over this way. You can see that I managed to get lucky and place a string of stone walls on the bottom area of that iceberg. And unfortunately, there are some spots where I can't seal it off. If you're lucky, you might be able to find an iceberg where you can actually have an entire layer of walls on the bottom and then a stone gate where your main ladders are. That would be pretty badass. Unfortunately, I could not do that on this particular iceberg. But you can see that I did put a significant amount of stone walls on this bottom area. That right there is a halfway chest, so if you're too lazy or, you know, just in a situation where you're about to die before you can make it all the way up to the iceberg, as long as you can make it that far, you can dump some of the loot you're moving. So pretty much the main weakness of the iceberg is simply the fact that you can't really do much about building on the lower areas, and since the tool cupboard building block radius does not stretch as far as it used to in terms of it going downward, it's a different story when it comes to an iceberg build, because anyone can pretty much just ladder up at any position that they want. And if you don't have your walls placed perfectly hanging off the edge like those ones are up there, you can basically ladder up to a little area where you can stand and either pickaxe if you really have the time and materials. It takes a lot longer than it used to. Or just use 3C4 to get through one of the high exterior stone walls. So the key, of course, for defense in this kind of a build is having turrets guarding your main laddering entrance, and of course having as many layers of stone walls as you possibly can to minimize the potential of people blowing in. Now that, combined with turrets that are sort of hanging off the edge of your main structure, that can be a significantly powerful defense, just considering the fact that you have to risk dying and losing everything by swimming out here, and you have, you know, say a ton of C4 on you or a ton of materials, and you die, you're screwed. So on vanilla, it can be a really, really powerful defense if you do it right. It just sucks because it takes a long time to get established, because you have to move all your materials from the outpost that you have on the shore, and the fact that you can't really place tool covers on the lower areas of the iceberg means that people could come from pretty much any angle at any point. So you really have to work on the building block radius on the top area being as solid as you possibly can. You have to have a creative way to, you know, get in your main entrance, say like a ladder hatch or something hanging over the edge like we did, or a number of other things. And the fact that it's not really viable to swim out here with armor on, you have to make sure that your armor is taken off. And if you're guarding your base and you're lucky enough to spot someone swimming out there and you've got like a good, you know, sniper tower, especially with a 4x scope, you can totally freaking kill people before they even show up. I mean, the downfall is that you can't loot their corpses. But then again, no one can. I mean, you can't get screwed over in a situation like that where you kill someone and then they like respawn and they come and, you know, gear up and then they kill you again. That is definitely the best part about, you know, an iceberg base. Not to mention the fact that your #1 defense is keeping it secret. If you just make sure that you keep the fact that you actually have an iceberg base secret, you can definitely survive a lot longer without even being found by people, because it takes a lot of extra effort, especially on vanilla, to swim all the way out there in order to notice it, because it doesn't render in unless you are close enough to it. So depending on how far the iceberg is from the shore, you will easily be able to avoid detection simply by keeping your base secret, because someone would actually have to swim deliberately out towards it looking for you to begin with in order to see any of your, you know, base items render in. So, like we said before, of course we need to have a gathering outpost if we want to successfully have an iceberg base, because it just takes so much time and effort to actually move the materials out there, and you might as well have somewhere to store them for the meantime and, you know, build quarries and stuff like that while you're getting the materials. Now, unfortunately, this particular outpost got raided since, as you can see, it survived for so long with like only one freaking wall guarding the loot, because I just, you know, didn't put much effort into it. And it's funny because the people who raided it actually thought this was my main base. You will probably recognize this base and this sign if you saw the God Mode problem video that I uploaded recently. But what I didn't show you in that video was this quarry that we've got. I managed to seal off this quarry with one tool cupboard guarding the front entrance, and then stone walls and a stone gate sealing off the rest, and I managed to place them close enough to the quarry itself that the building blocker that comes from the quarry actually prevents people from doing pretty much anything inside this area here. You can see the building privilege is only gone right there, and I'm pretty sure you can't even place anything anyways because of the fact that there is a building blocker coming from this quarry itself. So it's a good design. If you do it properly, you just make sure that the walls are as close to the quarry as they possibly can be, and then you really maximize the building blocking effect that you can get from all that. This base over here is Cheddar's cave base. I'm not going to do a tour of the inside because I don't have access to one of the hatches that I need to go through in order for me to see the entire base, but there is still definitely loot in there. It did survive a raid attempt that was thwarted because the raiders went for the tower that you're looking at instead of the actual cave area and wasted a bunch of their C4 for the most part. It's a really great design when you can seal off your entire area like that with walls and have quarries and stuff, and then have a hidden cave base design, as I like to call it. Anyways, that pretty much does it for this base tour. I hope you enjoyed it.